In a small store in southern Mexico, a woman walks past the tap and reaches into the fridge. She does not buy water. She buys Coca-Cola. Not because she loves it, because she trusts it more than what comes out of the wall. This happens every day, in millions of homes, in a country with rivers, rainforests, mountains, and aquifers. A country that is, on paper, drowning in water. So how did a soft drink, invented in a pharmacy in Atlanta over a century ago, end up more reliable than the public water system of an entire nation? This is not a story about a drink. It is a story about what fills the space when a country's promises start to fail. Most people, looking at Mexico from the outside, ask the same thing. Why don't they just drink water? It is the obvious question. It is also the wrong one, because that question assumes something most of us take for granted without ever noticing. It assumes the tap works. It assumes the water is safe. It assumes that when you turn the handle, something clean comes out every time for free. In much of Mexico, none of that is guaranteed. People boil, they filter, they wait for the truck, they lift heavy jugs up apartment stairs. They learn the days their neighborhood has pressure and the days it doesn't. So the real choice in a Mexican kitchen is rarely water or Coke. The real choice is a tap I do not trust, a bottle I have to carry, a delivery that may or may not come, or something cold, sweet, and already sitting in the fridge. Once you understand that, the whole story changes. Coca-Cola did not have to defeat water. It only had to be more reliable than the tap. There is a version of this story where Coca-Cola is just a brand, a logo, a jingle, a taste. That version is wrong. In Mexico, Coca-Cola is something stranger. It is a logistics system, a second nervous system running parallel to the country itself. 73 plants, 8 bottlers, 350 distribution centers, more than 13,000 delivery routes, over 1.3 million points of sale. That is not advertising. That is geography. 13,000 routes is not just a number. It is a map of daily presence, a private network reaching places where public systems often arrive late or not at all. And the further you go from the city, the stranger the system gets. Branded trucks reach the highway. Smaller trucks take the side roads. Pickups handle the dirt. And at the very end of the line, in towns the maps barely remember, the last mile is handled by whatever still works. Smaller vehicles, improvised deliveries, and people carrying crates by hand. That detail sounds almost mythical, but it explains everything. Because in a country where the government's pipes do not always reach the village, the red crates somehow do. Coca-Cola is not just selling thirst, it is solving delivery. And in Mexico, delivery beats policy. If you want to understand Coca-Cola in Mexico, do not start in a supermarket. Start in a tiendita, the neighborhood store, the one with the bell on the door, the one where you buy eggs and tortillas and phone credit and a single cigarette if you have to. The one run by someone who knows your mother. This is where Mexico actually shops. Even today, more than half of Mexico's traditional retail life still flows through these small, family-owned stores. Not Walmart, not Costco, not the supermarket chain at the edge of town. 1 million tiny counters, 1 million daily decisions. This is the terrain Coca-Cola understood before anyone else did. The owner of a tiendita does not need to love Coca-Cola. They need it to move, and Coca-Cola moves every single day. So it earns the fridge. The fridge gives it visibility. Visibility creates demand. Demand earns more fridge space. More space crowds out the competition. It is a loop, and once the loop starts spinning, it does not stop. At some point, the bottle is no longer just a product on the shelf. It becomes part of how the store survives. Take it away, and the math of the store breaks. That is not marketing. That is dependence, hidden inside a business model. Logistics gets the bottle into the store. Something else gets it into the body. To understand that part, you have to understand Mexican food. Tacos al pastor, carne asada, tortas ahogadas, a bowl of menudo on a Sunday morning, salt, fat, chili, lime, and next to almost every one of those plates, somewhere in Mexico right now, there is a cold Coca-Cola. The pairing is not accidental. It is chemical. The bubbles cut the grease. The sugar softens the heat. The cold bottle calms the room. The acid resets the tongue between bites. It works. It just works. And it has worked for so long that the drink stopped feeling like a product. For millions of Mexicans, Coca-Cola does not taste like a beverage company. It tastes like a Sunday afternoon at their grandmother's house. It tastes like the puesto outside the school. It tastes like the road trip when they were 8. This is the deepest kind of marketing. Not the kind that buys your attention. The kind that buys a room inside your memory and never gives it back. Because once a product lives in your childhood, you do not argue with it as an adult. You defend it. Here is something easy to forget. Coca-Cola is not Mexican. It was invented in a pharmacy in Georgia in 1886. It is, by every legal and historical measure, an American product. And yet, somewhere along the way, in Mexico, it stopped feeling foreign. Mexicans built their own myth around it. The cane sugar instead of corn syrup. The thicker glass bottle. The way the taste is supposedly different. Sharper, cleaner, older. Mexican Coke became a category of its own, exported back to the United States as something more authentic than the American original. A product invented in Atlanta became a symbol of being from Oaxaca. And once a foreign object becomes part of local identity, it becomes almost impossible to criticize. Because now, if you attack it, you are not attacking a corporation. You are attacking someone's meal, someone's mother, someone's childhood, someone's idea of home. This is how cultural power actually works. It does not arrive with a flag. It arrives in a bottle. And then, very slowly, it stops looking like an arrival at all. It just looks like Mexico. There is a moment in this story that almost sounds invented. In the year 2000, Mexico held an election that changed the country. For the first time in over 70 years, the ruling party lost. The man who won the presidency had a long career behind him. He had run companies. He had been a governor. He had also, years before, run Coca-Cola in Mexico. His name was Vicente Fox. And before he was president of the country, he was president of Coca-Cola Mexico. This is not a conspiracy. He did not invent Mexico's soda culture. He did not write the country's water policy. But as symbolism, it is hard to ignore. In most countries, Coca-Cola hires lobbyists. In Mexico, one of its former executives became head of state. That tells you something. Not about a man, but about a class. About how deeply the company had woven itself into Mexico's business elite. About what modern and successful and global had come to mean in the imagination of a generation. The red truck was never just carrying bottles. It was carrying a version of the future that Mexico had been told to want. Cold, American, branded, efficient, aspirational. And by the year 2000, that future was driving itself to the presidential palace. Coca-Cola did not arrive in Mexico in the 1990s. It had been there for decades. But in 1994, something shifted underneath it. NAFTA, the North American Free Trade Agreement, opened the borders between the United States, Canada, and Mexico in a way they had never been opened before. Capital moved, factories moved, supply chains stretched across the continent, convenience stores multiplied, modern retail accelerated. NAFTA did not invent Mexico's love of Coca-Cola. It just gave it room to grow. Researchers have a phrase for what happened next across much of the developing world. They call it the nutrition transition. It sounds clinical. It is not. It is the slow surround of traditional food by industrial food. The aguas frescas are still there. The pozole, the tejate, the atole, the black beans, and the handmade tortillas, and the chiles your grandmother dried on the roof. They didn't disappear. They just got surrounded by packaged snacks, by bottled drinks, by advertising, by cold storage, by 1,000 tiendita fridges humming in 1,000 small towns. Sugar got cheaper. Calories got faster. The store got closer. The bottle got colder. The choice got easier. And when an easier choice repeats itself 1,000 times, it stops feeling like a choice at all. It just feels like life.